Thank you for coming to speak to me today, James, about your attendance on a remote DAFNE course. Be really interested to know what your motivation was for attending a DAFNE course.
Primarily, it was to get my HbA1c down, so get better control of my blood sugars, because they were up and down like a fiddler's elbow, probably more up than down. And for me, that was the key, because I've had some issues with my eyes and one or two other bits and pieces, and I just really needed a refresher and get back into it.
Fantastic. So how did you feel at the beginning of the course compared to how you felt at the end?
I suppose I was a little apprehensive, and I think having had diabetes for so long, you become very complacent with it. And I think it was a real kick in the pants to just say, you know, calm yourself down. Let's start all this again. A lot of what I knew needed relearning, if I'm honest. Some of it's changed. The jelly babies thing with the hypos. My control on hypos is far better, and I'm not going hypo as often because I'm keeping a constant monitoring of my blood. So I would say both of those things have really helped.
Fantastic. So you're a bit apprehensive at the start of the course, and in terms of the course itself, how were you feeling by the end of the course?
Oh, really good, actually. Yeah, but I think when you're doing the course, you find that you've got other people in the same boat that you are. And whether they are new to diabetes or whether they've had diabetes for a long time, it's a good eye-opening refresher, but actually to have other points of view in there as well, because I think it expands, you can expand the conversation, but most importantly, you get other people's take on it and other people's advice and wins, if you like.
Fantastic. So you learned a lot from the other people in the group as well as from the online content of the course.
Absolutely, yes.
Fantastic. And you've already mentioned that you've had diabetes a long time, so almost 50 years you've had diabetes for, so pretty much all of your life. So you've kind of alluded to this a bit already, but is there anything else you'd like to add to about how it was like for you attending DAFNE after all those years of having diabetes?
I think it goes back to what I said, really. It was a kick in the pants. I really needed to be woken up to the fact that, you know, I need to treat it seriously and don't become complacent with it. And I think if you get yourself into a rut with anything, you become complacent. And that's exactly what happened. Up until probably about 3 years ago, I was fairly well controlled, and I just let it slide. Stop doing the blood tests, stop carbohydrate counting. And as I say, it was a bit of a rude reminder, but it was needed. And it was done in a, a kind and gentle way rather than a stick and carrot kind of way.
Fantastic. So DAFNE's given you the tools to keep that motivation going and to keep managing
Absolutely.
your diabetes.
Absolutely. I think the useful thing for me was the follow-up call as well, just to make sure that you're still sitting where you need to be, and to meet up with the guys as well that we'd done the course with was excellent.
Fantastic. Yeah, so the follow-up about 2 months after the course, just to reinforce what you've been doing on those weekly sessions.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So if you were going to suggest 3 top tips for somebody doing a remote DAFNE course, what would they be?
Make sure you've got plenty of time, because the bookwork that we did through the phases of it, there was quite a lot at the beginning, and I can understand why, but I think I didn't anticipate. I thought I was going to be able to get through it a lot quicker, where actually it took me more time, but the time was very well worthwhile. Yeah, I think you underestimate it, and I think there's a bit blasé because you think you know it all and you forget an awful lot. So the reminders are in there, and the book, while being very concise, there's a lot of it. It's all very straightforward, but there's a lot of it, and that's the key. You've got to get your head into it. So I would say just make sure you give yourself plenty of time. Further to that, just make sure you've got some quiet space to be able to do it, so you're not constantly being the doors are knocking or the windows are clattering or whatever, wherever you're taking the course, because it does need a fair amount of concentration. Other than that, I think everything else went swimmingly. Really, really pleased with it.
Fantastic, brilliant. And I recall actually, James, you joined some of the sessions from work, didn't you? So the flexibility of the remote learning worked really well for you.
Yes.
Fantastic. So lastly then, please can you share any thoughts on the DAFNE education you've attended and how that compared to any information you've received over the years?
Well, as most older diabetics can point out, when we first started, we used to have to test our urine for ketones and for sugar. And now we're on to these wonderful blood sampling machines which will constantly give you a reading within the last 15 minutes. For me, it was not only the technical kit that had improved, but just probably an easier way to look at it. I think it's very geared towards a simplistic form. It doesn't have to be too complicated to get a handle on it, and that's the key. And that's what you tend to forget, or it may well frighten you to think, well, this is a big voyage we're going on. There isn't any way back, but if the tools are made easy to use, then you become proficient at it a lot quicker.
So going back to the basics, starting again with the carb counting.
Absolutely.
All of that really you found very, very helpful just to get back on track with things. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. And DAFNE's all about self-management, isn't it, as well, giving you the skills and the knowledge to make your own choices. And maybe that's a bit different to the way you've been taught in the past.
Yeah, I think so. And I think because it gives you more flexibility, and it does give you a lot of flexibility, I think that works wonders. Certainly for an old diabetic that's been doing what I do for years, and for the new diabetics that are coming through as well, DAFNE is an absolute must, because it does give you, as I said, it just makes things a lot more simple and clear. And I can't think that it could be made a lot more difficult than it actually has been.
There's lots of sort of straightforward principles, isn't there? Like a straightforward scientific approach, stepwise approach.
There's lots of it, but it's all in bite-sized chunks. So it's all very easily dialected, taken in.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, thank you for your time talking about DAFNE course today, James.
That's a pleasure.